Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. Tonight, I'm going to ask the guys a very serious question. How committed to video games are you? With the most recent light of information that came out of Dying Light 2, where they said their game has 500 hours to complete it, which they later clarified that it's not 500 hours to complete the entire game. It's more like 20 hours to complete the game itself, the core game, but there's 500 hours worth of extra stuff, which begs to ask the question of all these guys is, how happy would you be? And could you play a game that took 500 hours to beat? Would you be happy? Could you do it? How would you do it? And have you done it? Because I think a lot of people misconstrue how much time they've actually put into a single game at times. So there's an article on The Guardian that talks about the same thing. It's kind of what gave me the idea of, would you play a video game for 500 hours? Would you sink 500 hours into a single title? So, the person who plays the video games the most out of us is Nick. That's the easy thing. Nick he plays a good chunk more video games than any of us do. He plays retro, plays new. So this is going to be a really good question for Nick. So he's going to get to go first. So, Nick, would you put 500 hours into a video game? Have you done it in the past? So we want to hear from you first.
Into a single game? No.
He's trying to figure out which time.
I don't think a single game would put that. Maybe an MMO, because MMOs are throughout years. So I could definitely see that. But a single game, no, I couldn't put 500 hours into it. I'd get bored. Unless it was a really good game. It would have to be like really top notch for me to really want to sink my time in that much time into it. But I like to play a variety, like you guys said. So I would be too inclined to, go on to something else because I want to play something else. So
would you not think back in your days, like even an MMO, like you had mentioned, would you not think you've put 500 hours into Final Fantasy or WoW or any of the old school ones back in the day? Because, you think about it, 20 hours a week used to not be at least not for me back in the day on an MMO, was not a hard thing to do. And when you think about it, in basically 5 weeks, I put 100 hours into it. And I know I played WoW for years.
Yeah, an MMO, like for sure. I could see MMO, but that's a different breed of game, right? For me anyway, I think of MMO as a time investment. If I'm going to get into MMO and really be into it, I'm going to invest a lot of time into it, and most of them have a monthly subscription. So of course I want to get my money's worth per month, and there's a lot of content there, and something like Final Fantasy 14, I'd probably put close to, if not 500 hours into, or at least close to it. Cause I've played through all the expansions except for the newest one that just came out, and beaten everything and played them, beaten a lot of the dungeons and various things like that in there. So I probably put close to 500 hours in that. But something like Dying Light 2, I do want to play the game, but I don't think I'll play 500 hours of it.
Well, what about like lightweight stuff? Like that's not really true MMOs. Like we have loot shooters and loot RPGs and stuff like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know or don't believe I put 500 hours into Destiny 2 or something like that. But what about you? You think something like that has constant content updates, or maybe the co-op experience? Because I think co-op is what drives it, right? MMOs are fun because you're not by yourself.
Right. And I find those to be like MMO light in a way, so they still have that MMO type of thing to them. I played a lot of Destiny and Destiny 2, but I don't think I put close to 500 hours into them. But, I could put a lot of hours into a game like that, but 500, that's quite a bit. I don't know if, I just played through a really long RPG not too long ago. That was once I finished it, it was close to probably 90 hours of game. But that was over several days, maybe a week or two. I'm just constantly playing it though. I'm constantly playing it though.
So this just goes to prove that the possibility is there that you wouldn't mind putting that amount of time into a net game.
I probably could. It depends on the game, right? It depends on the game.
Right. And I think that's what you're going to run into, right? Is the right game could do that for you, right? And I think that's the key with all of us, the right type of game. Like I could honestly say if you exclude MMOs from this title and maybe even MMOs lights, it's a very rare thing. Like, I don't know, maybe if you take a game like some more popular games that we love throughout the year that we beat this last year, Tales of Arise, I thought it was too short. I could have put more time into it. If they would have added a co-op component, maybe I beat it single player and then maybe I beat it with friends, or maybe the co-op component is you do dungeon crawling with friends. That would be kind of fun. So so that's interesting. And like I said, Nick, we all know that Nick plays more games than any of us do. I mean, he's got the wider variety of games that he plays, so there's a lot more out there for him. I'm a little bit more particular about what I'll play. I'm not a huge retro or back in the past fan. I don't like to go back and revisit things I've already played. So the most recent thing that Nick is talking about is 90 hours. That's quite a bit of time to put into one game. And I do believe variety is what would kill that, because you're like, I'm ready for something new, maybe over the course of a year or 6 months, it might be a lot easier to do than what you think about. I mean, we take like the most non-MMO game that I could think of that we probably put a lot of time at is Deep Rock Galactic. I don't know how much time we put into it, but we were putting in 2 to 4 hours a night for like a week, and then 2 weeks, and then so on and so forth. Then you get into more time. I think co-op games more easy, single player not so much. But Shane, what about you, man? Can you think of games that you put that much time in, or have you put that much time in game? Did you ever have a time in your life where all you had was the TV on top of the cardboard box or milk crate, and you were sitting on a lawn chair in your living room with a video game system?
You just described my childhood pretty much. Nintendo, black and white.
It was his honeymoon.
God, that would have been the best. Love you, dear. Yeah, I mean, there's very few games I could see coming to 500 hour head. But before I answer that, I'm more bothered by the fact that the story aspect of the game, the main campaign, is 20 hours. This game has been delayed, and they have 480 hours worth of dog crap milked into it. They should have released this thing 3 years ago with 100 hours of gameplay. So that's just me. So they can suck a butt on that.
That's the truth, right? Have they been spending all this time getting that 20 hours worth of content polished up to 500 worth of side crap?
Yeah. What do they got? Like 1,000 hidden zombie testicles, throughout the city. I mean, it really makes no sense.
You got to make that necklace. Got to make that zombie necklace, that zombie testicle necklace.
That's right. It really makes no sense to make a game like that into 500 hours. In my opinion, it makes no sense. Now, Nick was talking about the RPG he played. And Nick, you started the sequel to it already?
Yeah, I did start the sequel to it.
Okay. And I just fired that one up, and I haven't had the chance to put much of any time into it, but the RPG he's talking about is really good so far. But I've definitely put in 500 plus hours on Final Fantasy VIII, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I've beaten that one multiple times, Final Fantasy VIII multiple times. Those type of games, I've probably put well over 500 hours. That is primarily because the story is so good that you want to play again. The Metal Gear Solid 3, for instance, Snake Eater is just riddled with little things. I mean, you can completely wipe out a boss that's near the end in the first quarter of the game by doing just one little aspect that affects it. It's things like that make a game worth 500 hours. I'm not a big MMO guy. So if we excluded MMOs, it's a small handful, maybe 2 that I put in that kind of time in. But it's really hard to justify those kind of hours too. And granted, those games are old, and I have played them multiple times throughout 20 years. So it's easy to build that kind of time in. It really is. But if you were to tell me, all right, we're going to review Dying Light 2, and I have to complete it to fruition, this review will be done in 2074. That's it. I mean, I'm never going to complete it.
Shane's going to be a head in a jar
Yep, I'll be Futurama on this crap. I mean, just it's nuts. But this also shows a problem with games. Too much stuff that is just not needed anymore. You know, focus on the story, focus on the gameplay, focus on the importance. And yes, little things are great. Skulls and Halo were always fun. Certain, you know, little artifacts and things like that you can find throughout a game. You know, that's fine and it's okay. And a good RPG has good side quests. Doesn't have 500 hours worth of them, though. That's just too much. Ghost of Tsushima, we all loved. We all thought the side quest missions of the game were just wonderfully done. You know, fantastic. It's a great way to design the game. And it wasn't 500 hours. Could I put 500 hours in Ghost of Tsushima? I probably could, because I really would like to go back and take another run through it, you know, because it's just that good of a game. I probably put 100, 120 hours into Last of Us Part 1. Because I've played it 3 times. Played through it 3 times. Twice on PS3 and then once on PS4. So I probably got 120 hours in there, you know, maybe a little lower. So it's hard to denote, you know, to get 500 hours into a game if it's just not amazing. But that's just me. What about you, Pat? I'm ranting.
One of the things is you guys playing some super secret game, because nobody seems to want to mention the game that you had been playing that Nick just put 90 hours in and he started the second part already.
No, it's yeah, we've already talked about it before. It's a Legend of Heroes Trails, the
Trails of Steel.
Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah. I want you guys to know about this great game.
No, it's a great game. It's a great game. Sorry,
it is. It was a PS3 originally.
It was PS3 originally. They're all been re-released on PS4 and Switch, I believe. I don't know if the first 2 were, but I know the last 3 or the last 2 were.
Are you playing on PlayStation or Switch?
I'm playing on PlayStation 4, so I have all 4 of them. I've beaten the first one. It's a great story, great RPG. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't even know this game was around. I just bought it on a whim one day because I was like, that looks neat. But apparently there's a big cult following with it. So anyway, we can continue on with that.
So yeah, I mean, but I probably could, because back in the MMO days, I put a lot of time into things like WoW and EVE Online and stuff like that. I put so much time into those games. I guarantee I put more than 500 hours into those games easily. And I think Ghost of Tsushima is probably a good example of that. I didn't put 500 hours into that game, obviously, but I guarantee I put in over 100 because I beat the game, did all the side crap, did all the PvP stuff with Russ, and then we all did the multiplayer PvP stories together, and they were tough, and it took us a long time to get through, like, mission 1 on regular difficulty, and then, like, I'm talking about the story-driven PvE one, the PvE one, and then there was the what I would call, like, last man standing, where there's just mobs coming into the same map over and over. We did those for a long time. So, you know, I honestly think a good game that is a mixture of maybe some single player stuff and some cooperative stuff could drive me to a 500-hour mark. Now, it has to be amazing, right? Because I don't think there's been anything in the last, I don't know, couple of years or so that I've put more than 100 hours into. Like, I really would have used more Tales of Arise. And I think I put 40, 45, maybe even close to 50 hours into that one. And I could have probably put in another 50 easy. But could I put in 500? I don't know if I've got that much time. I would miss the variety of playing something different. And I have a really hard time with moving from game to game. And what I mean by that is if I'm playing Tales of Arise and I jump over and play Ghost of Tsushima, I have a hard time coming back to the other one because I'm like, my brain has already switched to this game. And I'm like, I got to relearn how to play this game and relearn all the little nuances of the menus and the character swapping and this and that it's really hard for me to jump around like that. So I have to dedicate time to that. Now, you know, I don't know. You know, I saw a lot of comments of the Dying Light too, where they were like, it's a good way to ruin a game for anybody over the age of 30. And I don't know, do people over the age of 30 put in less video game time than somebody in their 20s? I don't know. For me, it's quite the opposite, right? in my earlier life, I was establishing my career. I was dating. I wasn't playing as much video games, but now my life is established. I have career. I have relationships. I have kid. I play more video games now because I have more time that I am not out chasing my education, chasing my career, chasing, women. I'm not doing that in my life. So I have more time to be at home doing home hobbies. I'm not a huge television watcher. I don't watch a lot of TV. TV for me is mostly background noise. If I'm in the living room and not playing a game, TV is background noise for me. So I don't think that that's more of a bigger thing, but I don't know if I can put 500 hours in either. But if there's an MMO, like Nick said, yes, or an MMO light, really easy to do. But, co-op games don't seem to last for very long. We end up powering through most co-op games pretty quick. So that would be rough for us to even put 500 hours into a co-op game. Maybe over the course of 5 years, right? If they keep pumping out more content for Back 4 Blood, we'll probably put in another 10 hours here, 20 hours there, depending on more content they put out, right? We all occasionally have gone back to Left 4 Dead. That game's been out for a long time. We'll come back and put, a few hours in here and there and play more. So, I mean, is it possible? Yes, because I think, I don't know, you guys feel free to answer this question or not, but I'll answer it. On average, I probably put in at least, and I would say at least, let's say that's 10. I put in at least 30 to 40 hours a week into video games, at least. That's me alone. I would say closer to 30 on average, because I'll put in like 2 hours a night on work nights. Sometimes maybe we can go up as high as 4, but it doesn't always work out that way. And on the weekends, if I don't have anything going on, I'm putting in 5+ hours a day if I don't have anything I'm supposed to do. So, I don't know if you guys want to answer that, but I mean, so when you think about it, if I'm saying that on average, I'll put in 20 to 30 hours a week in gaming, 500 hours is not that long. It's not even a full year. It's not even half a year.
It's definitely not. But it's the game being told this game is 500 hours. That's where my brain gets lost, because it just does not make a sense to me to be 500 hours. Because I don't have that kind of patience or time for one game.
Well, they Ubisoft it. That's what they did to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's open world, find the, skeleton zombie testicles and make necklaces. And it's just nuts. Pun. It's just nuts that it's, that they took the kind of time to make a 500-hour game. And I'm going to be pissed as hell if this game comes out and it's buggy, it's broke, it's dog crap if it plays at all. So 500 hours for one game is just ridiculous. But now if I come back to the game, like we said, I could do it easy.
So does anybody want to give an estimate of how much time they play per week in gaming?
Yeah, I'd say probably 20 hours, 25. It kind of depends. Sometimes I work late, like I got kids. I got 3 kids, so, I got triple the pain. So I got a little more to do, but my weekends are my game time. I mean, there's pretty much, the 3 of us at least are almost every night playing something together if we have multiplayer going on. So yeah, I'd say 25, maybe 30, depend on the week.
Right. On a really good co-op game week where we're reviewing something. Yeah, we'll put in a lot of that. Yeah.
So in a 7-day period, Nick, how many months do you get into a game?
I probably only play like 30 to 40 hours a week. I'd say.
Oh, shit.
No, it's true. I mean, like, during the day, I don't really play at all until like, once I'm off of work, and then I got to make dinner, and then I'll play for sometimes, depending on what's going on, but I'll play for a couple hours, and I got to get the kids ready for bed and everything like that. And then I'll get back on, and I might play for a couple more hours. And then
the sun comes up and shit.
No, then I go to bed, because I mean, I gotta get up, we all get up early. So by the time sometime between 11 and 12 come, I'm like already ready for bed. I'm like, I'm so tired. I can't keep my eyes open. I can't play any longer. So, I mean, probably per night, maybe like 4 hours is about the extent of what I get per night. And then on the weekends, it depends. I usually do play most of the weekend, but it also depends on it just depends on the circumstance. So, yeah.
Right. Whatever's going on with kids, relationship, things like that. Yeah. So we're about average, on the gaming, I would say 20 hours on the low end for me. Cause if that's 2 hours a night, that's 10 hours during a Monday through Friday, which I will admit, that's more like a Monday through Thursday thing. Cause on Friday, I'm not in bed until 2 to 4. So, typically, so I'm playing a lot of games then. Nighttime is my game time as well. Cause that's when, girlfriend's watching her shows, the kids doing their thing, I'm like, all right, so nobody's bothering me. I get to stay up late and play video games. So I would say 20 hours is probably average. And then on a really busy game week, it can go up to 40. There have been times where I have known to find a game and I'm just like, I got to beat this. So I put in all kinds of time. So yeah. I think it's in the realm of a possibility, but I'd agree with you guys. I think I'd get too bored after about hour 60 to 100 if it's a great, amazing game. Now, if it's a boring game and Dying Light's doing the Ubisoft, 20 hours is going to seem like an eternity in this game.
Yeah. And, we all, I think we all have terrible habits. Pat probably more than anybody of, shiny, and sidetracked all to hell. So if he finds one shiny in this game, he's going to try to find all the shinies. And before he knows it, he's still at level 1, but he's got all the collectibles. So,
and the story's I've only played one story mission.
Exactly. I just cannot fathom the person who came in and said, you know what? This game's been delayed for like 15 years. I have an idea. Let's put 500 hours into just dog crap gameplay, and collectibles, and, we'll just put 12 hours of 20 hours of story. It just bothers me really bad.
Well, I think we probably need to put this to bed before we have a 500-hour podcast recording on this subject. So, Nick, Shane, either guys want any parting words on playing for 500 hours and not South Parking it?
If you're going to delay it, take about 300 hours out.
Right. Nick, anything from you, man?
No, I'm ready to put 500 hours into it.
All right. All right. Let us know. Have you put 500 hours into a game that you're aware of? A lot of times spread out over the years, you may not know that you put 500 hours into, especially like an MMO. But is there a game? Like, I know plenty of people who play the crap out of stuff like these sports games, NBA 2K, Madden. I know plenty of people who don't play video games, but they play sports games. And they put so much time into that stuff. Let us know. Is this something that you've done before, or maybe you're unconsciously unaware that you've done this, subconsciously unaware. And don't forget, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications so that you get updated and told when we put out new videos. We put out a lot of videos every week. And if you like what we do, make sure to support us so we can keep doing what we do. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.